Welcome back, Nerd Nation. Our guest today is Johnny G, John Graves. So you're a regional manager out in Ohio. You got a big task ahead of you. Build out Ohio, build out the Midwest, but we're excited to have you. So just so our nerd guys, our nerdlets can get to know you a little bit, just want to introduce yourself a little bit. So tell us a little bit about who you are, what you've done, and how you heard about N.E.R.D.
Awesome, man. Well, first of all, glad to be part of the family. Yes. It's been a kind of long time coming. Me and Babe kind of started conversations a couple of years ago. My background is not in solar, and so it's kind of new. Solar's new, but this business model and how you
door to door.
Yeah, the whole setup is very similar, pretty much identical. Switch out, windows, and put solar in, and we're doing a similar business model. But
Babe always says, we're a human capital company. It doesn't matter what we're, selling. Yeah. But like you said, it's the same business.
100%. I mean, it's about building people, developing people. And if you do that, any business is very similar in that facet, right? But with my background, I started in 2011, knocking doors, was in the commercial real estate business in Chicago prior to 2011, 4 or 5 years, started ramping my business, started making some decent money. Thought I was the man, right? Then had an opportunity. My good friend of mine, said, "Hey, I need a guy to help grow my window business." I was like, "Windows? Come on, man!" I was like, "I can't even hang a picture."
Commercial real estate. I've made it.
Yeah, wearing suits, thinking I was the man. To pound the pavements, knocking doors, getting yelled at. And also, I'm not handy. I mean, my wife does everything in the house, man. It's bad. I can't even hang a picture up straight, let alone, talk about windows, right? So like my mom, when I told her I was moving, she started crying. She's like, "What are you doing? You're throwing your career away." I was like, "Nah, Mom, I got it." So I moved, my wife, we just had our first baby at the time, which is, for those people, you have to find your purpose, right? Your why. And that really motivated me to get my stuff going, right? So moved there.
Where'd you move?
Moved from Chicago at the time to Columbus.
Columbus, okay.
Actually, Columbus. I'm from Ohio originally, Cincinnati boy. Graduated school around the Columbus area, so no Columbus. Moved back to Columbus to be close to family. Just had our baby, and at that time, started knocking doors, learning the door-to-door thing. Never did door-to-door before. My dad's a pastor, and so he used to make a pretty large church, and so he made me and my brothers always greet people at the front door. It's terrible, bro. I mean, terrible. I mean, it was like
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, most dreaded thing, man. Like my dad's like,
How old were you?
Oh, man, we started doing that when I was young, 8, 9, all the way up till I graduated. Until I left, for college. And we used to complain all the time, like, "Dad, come on, man, like, dude, that's killing us, right?" Me and my brothers. My sister didn't make my sister do it. Just me and my brothers. I have an older brother and a younger brother, and so. But at that time, he said, "Hey, it's not about you liking it. It's about people feeling loved and welcome, and getting them like you."
It's about engagement.
That's it. That's sales.
Yeah.
That's life. If you want a good life, that's the way to live.
I always tell people I've learned more on the doors than I have in, my education, and it's crazy.
100%. I mean, when with recruiting, if you have someone that you could tell has the it, they just never been taught it before, right? I always tell them, especially those who have education backgrounds, it's a little harder for them to see it, I think because our culture creates that, hey, you have to have education, right?
Yeah. Crazy, huh?
Yeah.
So going back to, so you just moved to Columbus. I've had Sigel and Carl and all these people on here. Was this instant success for you? Like, how did it roll out for you?
So commercial real estate, moved to Columbus, didn't know anything about it. Started knocking doors in the sales capacity because I was doing everything. I was brand. I mean, I was recruiting, training, putting ads, every post a pillar, right? In the sales capacity, I think I went 0 for 5 on my first. It took me a little while ramp.
And were you like, "Oh my gosh, what did I do?"
Well, I was still trying to figure out what windows were which windows. To be honest, I was like, I mean, and the thing is, I was brutally honest. With people. I say, "Hey, listen, I can promise you this. You're not going to get better customer service than I'm going to give you."
Right.
But I don't know this. And so I think it took a little while to ramp up. The doors, I had luck pretty fast with the doors.
Okay.
Again, I think it goes back to my background of just talking with people.
Engagement.
Yeah. I mean, and again, even with seeing the pitch here and coming in and seeing what you guys are doing here, I think that's something we across the board, including my company that I had for years. You fail to people forget.
Yeah.
It's not about pitch. It's about connecting at the door, right?
Yep.
And I told my guys
like
all the time. I tell my guys all the time. And my corporate trainer, my old company, used to get so mad at me, and I was like, I'd hear somebody's pitch. I said, hey, great, do me a favor, forget the pitch, talk. Like how long can you be at the door before you actually do your pitch?
Yeah.
Connect. And a lot of times the small change, the pivot that I made people do is that less pitch, more of you. Less pitch, more you, which I think is why I had success. But Columbus in general, I didn't have huge success in numbers until probably year 2, 3. We started ramping up. We started doing about $3 million a year plus in Columbus, and then at that point, me and my partner started popping them off. We went from $3 million till I just sold in March to come here with N.E.R.D. I sold in March. I got my fundings in March, and then started really kicking around with you guys a couple months ago before our launch, which is on January 10th coming up.
And so, how big did you get because you went from Columbus to you had kind of a nationwide company?
Yeah, we developed 7 cities from Atlanta to Vegas, more West Coast, just because we wanted to get away from the cold. Go figure. Now I'm right back in it, right? Because I'm going to explain the goal here with N.E.R.D is this side of my side of the Mississippi, right? Yep. East side of Mississippi, I'm taking it over, right?
Yep.
My goal is to XX, XXX the company, which means a lot of cold winters, right?
Yeah.
And that was in that area. But with Energy One was the name of the company. We had 7 cities. We started hitting over 20 million a year in sales. Probably about in 2018, we started really hitting big numbers. We had a pretty big jump from 12 million to 20. It was a huge jump, and I really don't know why that jump happened, other than just staying consistent in what we did.
Yeah.
We knew we had good people, and we were working out the tweaks, and then all of a sudden it popped. And so we did about 26 million last year the year before I sold. So very successful. Now the thing with my company, I'm seeing now that we weren't doing very well, that I think N.E.R.D has me in spades, or had my company in spades, right? Was all about the follow through, the customer service,
infrastructure,
after the sale, after the contact. I ran a great sales company. I don't think I ran a great business, and I say that quite often, right? And that was kind of check my pride at the door. But I think that's what I was really excited about here is the foundation. Everything like the CRMs, the back ends, the recruiting, the HR, just communication with customers. You guys have really made it to where our managers here, our team leaders or field managers, I think we're calling them field managers now. All they have to do is just develop people and go make friends, right? Make it really one-dimensional.
Simplify it, right?
You got to.
Sometimes we make it a little bit too hard.
Yeah.
Just keep it simple.
And so, so I'm excited, man. New venture, but it's about growing people, grow people correctly. Not only would make a ton of money, but you'll have fun doing it, right?
Yeah.
And so the platform's here for everybody to do it. So I'm excited.
That's awesome. So one thing that's interesting for a lot of people, anyone listening to this right now, currently, we don't knock in a cold area. Yeah. And I know that Gail and I were talking earlier this week, because he's out there all next week knocking doors. And he's like, wait a minute, I don't have a code. I don't have anything. So tell everyone what that's like, knocking doors and,
Oh man, I got stories for days, bro. In Columbus, man, luckily we haven't had any snow yet. That really stuck, right? But when I first started, I was probably 2 months in, and we had just a dump, 12 inches of snow. Could barely get out in the field. Got in the field. I had to get my snow boots on, winter gloves, everything else. So what we taught our guys is how to punch in the home, how to get off the front door.
Yeah, get in the door.
Get in the door. So there's, that's a whole nother, area we can train in, with the Midwest and colder weathers. But it's tough, man. Especially too, you have to be creative in what times you go out.
Yeah.
It gets dark by 5:30. Dark, snow. I don't care if it's only 5:30 but if it's dark and cold, and nobody's going to want to open doors for you.
Right.
So we had to really capitalize on working smarter in our times. Schedules, I think schedule is something that everybody can get better at. Really structuring your day to be productive, making sure you guys hold each other accountable to those schedules, is which I'm going to talk on today about actually. But with our guys, we won the mornings, in those weathers. Because again, even if it's say 20 degrees, a couple inches of snow, at 11 degrees with the sun, it makes you feel all right. It makes you feel like you're in Phoenix, man.
See, and I don't think I really ever knocked. I guess in Boston we went out one time and I knocked a little bit when it was really, really cold and had coat weather. But I will tell you, like I've knocked in the rain, like people are like, oh, it's raining, I can't go out. That's the best time to go knock. I mean,
Yeah.
people will let you in and they're like, what is this guy doing out here? And when it's raining and stuff like that. So
Buy a slicker.
that's right.
You ever seen the movie What About Bob?
A long time ago,
yeah,
man.
yeah, get a slicker. Yeah, it's a good part.
But that's awesome. I'm excited. And one thing that I've noticed about you is there's no excuses. Like the weather's not an excuse. Like you
Yep.
can utilize that as a strength and a tool, like you said, to help, but no excuses.
Yeah, it's funny, man, because again, with my old company, every city has their Achilles heel, right? Like rain was a real big deal in Texas.
Yeah.
And that's where I lived. I lived in Texas. I ended up moving
Yeah,
from
from
Columbus,
Ohio.
yeah, to Austin, Texas.
Yep.
We developed our corporate office in Austin. Miss it, love it. But it's crazy when our guys we call them reps would it'd be raining. It was like their excuse not to work. Okay, so and getting them out there, and even the culture, even the people are less receptive to when it's just naturally
Yeah.
they were. So we made a point. Okay, how do you put yourself in position to make money? Well, if you're not pounding the pavement because it's raining too hard, what are you doing? It doesn't give you an excuse to take the day off. So when it rains, we train. Rain train. That's what we did.
That's cool.
So we brought everybody in the office and taking a step
Worked
every
on
day to get.
follow-ups. There's lots to do.
Yeah, rehash. I
Yeah.
mean, how often do our guys set an appointment and have a list of people that could call
Exactly.
back and they just don't?
Yeah. They get busy, life happens, and that list of follow-ups just get bigger,
So
bigger and bigger.
so there's ways to take it. I think there's ways to be productive no matter what kind of weather.
Yeah.
And so you just got to find that and be disciplined in following through with that because it's really hard. Nobody wants to work in the rain, but that's what separates everybody.
So I've heard you say in the past that one of the, and I hear this a lot from, the people here. People love, Babe and what he's built here and stuff. And so you went from a very successful business to, there's Todd and several of you guys who have, joined N.E.R.D.
Yeah.
And why? Like what's your why now?
Yeah, that's a great question. You're right. I mean, Todd is one of my best friends. Actually introduced me to Babe, years ago.
I actually think I was there that first time that you met Babe. We went
In
to
Round
dinner.
Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Round
Yeah.
Rock. Yeah, Round Rock. I mean, that's probably 5 years ago.
Yeah, it was a while.
But yeah, so same thing. Todd had a super successful business.
Yeah.
He's one of my mentors. And sold his company, made a ton of money, and now on to he's consulting a lot of companies. But why did he say, "Hey, I'm putting everything on N.E.R.D right now"? And I think it's because the platform you guys have done, the structure of this company is so scalable. Okay, with this kind of business model, my old company's business model, when you have a setup, knockdown setup,
Right.
where you lead generation sales, and it's generated mostly by door to door.
Right.
Right. That's majority of our leads are through the doors.
Right.
If you could take away all the moving pieces other than just developing people and sales. I mean, the sales, let's be honest, sales is the easiest part of this animal.
Yeah.
I mean, the door knocking is the hardest part. I mean, that's what really drives the cities. And so when I was looking at this structure of the company and when I realized all I had to do is develop people and really be great recruiting and great at training and sales, and not have to don't worry about any of the platform, the installation, the customer service, the follow up, the customer excellence. That's where I think the thing that drew me the most was one, it's scalable, quick, and that for me to sell my company and come work with N.E.R.D. I mean, I'm not doing it for one city or one region.
Right.
We're taking it coast to coast.
Yep.
Right. We have to.
And I think that's what I'm most excited to have you join the team with is I just see something different with you. You know what I mean? And it's interesting because Babe always says, you never want to be the smartest person in the room. And I've got a lot of experience, but when I look at someone like you that has the success and the experience, I can't wait to learn from you. You know what I mean? It's going to be fun. And it's been, just a few weeks where we've gone back and forth, but I love, our conversations, and you're like, hey, let's try this, and hey, do this, and what about this? And, it's kind of brought a new energy. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, well, and that's another thing too. I mean, same thing with you guys. I mean, you, Galen, Babe, um, somebody coming in new, but how open you guys are to, hey, it's not my way. It's my way. It's just because I created the pitch, just because I think it's the best way. Just because we're doing it like this right now. You guys listen, take a, sometimes
oh yeah,
for every 10 things I bring to you, you might knock nine them down, but that one, shit, that one might make us the money.
exactly. Yeah.
And that's why I think that's cool. I think dynamic right now we have, especially at the corporate level and at the higher level, is everybody's in it to make everybody's jobs easier, more
Right.
productive, and more money.
Yep.
And more scalable. And I think everybody's pride's kind of at the door.
Yeah.
At that, and I love that. It's one team.
It's interesting. So this week we're all here. We brought in all of our leadership from all over, all the different states, and again, it's that fresh look. It's a new year, fresh look, and I know that you've got a lot to bring to N.E.R.D this year. So welcome to N.E.R.D, and we're excited to have you, man.
I appreciate it, man. I'll end it with this. It's something I'm gonna be talking about today. I have a little slick clip, YouTube kind of hype video, right? Inspirational video, which you'll hear later. But it kind of boils down or kind of pinpoints what decision you're gonna make. We all have a decision to make.
Exactly.
What decision? I think it's kind of a good thing to bring up this time of year because it's a new year.
Yeah.
So what decisions are we going to make? Are we going to make decisions with health decisions, relational decisions? Are we a better marriage with your wife, relationship with your wife? What decisions are you going to make? We have a chance to make those decisions. So what are you going to do with it, man?
I love it.
2022. Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah.